understand forgiveness into love, you'll go into the Christ-like mind.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. And today my guest is Mike Wills. Mike,
Okay.
how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's great to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into it. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about your early background? I usually like to get a little bit of a base, like were you brought up religious, and then how you sort of transitioned to this different sort of reality and awakening.
Yeah. Well, it was really funny. I grew up in kind of like a Christian home. Um, my parents were Lutheran at the time and stuff, but it was kind of weird. Like when you when I was such a young age, at the age of 5, I heard like in my download or voice or whatever, this big voice in the sky, and you could feel it here. You will lead nations. And so I kind of was like, well, how do I lead nations? I'm only 5 years old, and
Yeah, right, right. Nothing like putting some pressure on a 5-year-old.
yeah, and he kind of was like, I'll give you a resume, don't worry. And that's kind of when I knew there was something much bigger than me. And I guess in this plane of existence, it was like I have this one mission or this specific mission I have to do, and I kept running from it.
Hmm.
Um, but I knew early on that I was very sensitive and very intuitive with my emotions, and I could feel people's energy and their pain and stuff. And excuse me.
What do you
And
think that really came about? Like, how old would you say, or right there at 5?
I think right there, the weight of the world felt like on your shoulders, and you immediately became like hurting and angry and all this pain and suffering. You could feel it like huge amounts. And
Wow, how do you process that as a 5-year-old?
I don't know. It was like, here's a load of crap, and
Yeah.
so I felt the weight of my lineage and the people that didn't do the work before me.
Hmm.
And so growing up in this Christian home, i- all they knew is their programming of, the false God and not the true God that's in love and that who loves us all. And so I guess it was my job as a sensitive person to transmute that and help them along the way. And yeah, it was a trying time growing up because a lot of stuff just kept happening to you. Um, I had
Things like what?
I had purpura at the age of 4. It's an autoimmune deficiency where basically your cells attack your whole immune system,
Oh my
and
God.
and you you can basically press yourself and it will instantly bruise just because your veins are so swollen. And yeah, it I didn't grow for that year.
Oh
Um,
my God.
I basically was on death row, and someone with healing hands actually like helped me like get it rid of it and save me. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was my start to early on. Like I had that when I was 4, so I saw a lot of doctors, a lot
Oh
of
my
scan.
God.
Um, and then the age of 5, like I wasn't learning anything, and so I saw more doctors for psychological, like learning disabilities and all these things. So early on, I thought I was just this tormented, like something must be wrong with me, like kid. And so that really like hurt my like confidence and my well-being to go forth in the world. And
Sure, I can only imagine that.
yeah, and it was tough. It was tough growing up because you were smaller than everyone else and you were teased and you couldn't you weren't smart enough, like all these aspects of like the 3D world or the real world
Mhm.
is coming at you so young, and you saw multiple doctors for, and then you always needed special time and need for tests and getting evaluated by like all these teachers and other doctors that would come in. So just it was really depressing. And then hockey was my only outlet. Sports was my only outlet to kind of transmute that energy into something I was actually good at. So
Okay.
yeah, I
When did you sort of realize, like, uh, you were like, sort of like better at hockey and that was sort of helping you? I mean, were you older than 5, or is that pretty
yeah,
much?
I was about 6 or 7. I knew that this was fun and
Mm,
I could I grew up in a farming community of 900 people, so I all I know is, like, work hard and heavy stuff and lift heavy things and grunt labor and blue collarness, right? So hockey
hmm.
is that, and
Yeah.
so I that took pretty easy, like, I was a after Purpura, I was a strong kid, and I really wanted to work on my weaknesses,
You-
which so I ended up just really honing in on being strong physically.
Okay.
Uh, I I got sought after pretty quickly for hockey, so which was great. And yeah, I ended up getting a scholarship down the states for got my BFA in graphic design, and I played for Team Canada and World Juniors, and then played in minor pro, and in Georgia, and went over to Serbia, and yeah, so
Wow,
hockey,
it's really incredible.
yeah, so hockey took me a cool way that way. Um, but
Now,
these
when you were in hockey, did you sort of put the whole spiritual weight of the world thing aside for a while?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, I kind of ran from my true calling, which
Hmm.
was art and healing and helping people and really feeling the sensitive side, and that's kind of how I was like, if I'm so feminine, and I would yell at the sky god frequently when I was a teenager, going, why did you make me this way? Why did you design me this way? I can't believe you did this. Like, I hate you for this. And I knew that I was like a sensitive kid
Hmm.
and had these abilities, and so many friends um, rejected me because I looked a certain way, I built myself up a certain way, and I had all the talent and I could do everything easily. And I'm not a lot of people like that as a child, right? Just because of
Yeah.
their insecurities or their jealousies or something. So I didn't have a lot of like true friends growing up that way that could just accept me for me, because I ended up being good at everything that I did.
Yeah. A lot of jealousy, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
so hatred really sat in of like, I can't believe you made me this way, God. So I'm gonna be this brunt force brute and it's like false person that I just wasn't. I just brooding anger all the time.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm this sensitive artist, kind of healer and soft, kind person, but
Hmm.
I was always teased of being gay in high school, and I wasn't. I really wasn't. Like, I was just
Right.
I could I was fashionable, and I just loved being me, but I was every kids are so mean sometimes. They just
Oh
pick
God, yes.
anything they can throw at you, right? So
Oh yeah.
it was it was ti
Yeah, it's a shame. I do feel for, guys that I think it's fading a bit, but I
Mhm.
mean, I think when we were younger, it was a lot of that pressure of just being the macho,
Oh,
manly
yeah.
guy, stifle your feelings,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Angry all, just fuck the
Oh,
world, you
yeah.
know.
And the hardest part is I have the hardest working dad ever. Like, even Russian guys say like, I can't believe how hard you
Wow.
and so like that's all I've known is this like you go to work and you work and you be this macho man kind of like strength.
Yeah.
So like in my mind, I was like, I have to be as strong as him and I have to work as hard as him to be successful and perform and all this when it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's a lot of pressure, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure to try to be as good as your father, right? To
Oh yeah.
mean that but
So what happened then? How did you transition then from this thing that you thought you had to be, and
yeah.
what expectations were, and what society was telling you and everything else, and then what how did you sort of move back into that feminine aspect? And
Yeah, spirit came to me only once at 5 and then right about when I was about 20 and I was just seeing a girl and it was my girlfriend and then we kind of it broke up in college and whatever and
Mhm.
as I was walking to my car he kind of said to me you'll have 5 girlfriends all blonde with the letter A except for the fourth one will be brunette with the letter B, and the fifth one, ha- the fifth one will have blonde curly hair and will be your sixth somehow.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah, I'm 21 at the time or whatever. I'm like, yeah, right. Like this is not gonna work, right? Lo
Right.
and behold, like it happened, right? Like their names were all blonde with the letter A, the fourth one, and right at my end of my career in college, um, I got some concussions and he would I had to come back here and to my house like my parents' place to heal and everything and he
Hmm.
you'll meet a Ukrainian woman or a Russian woman from the Ukraine you will do it your way and lose it and I was like yeah okay yeah right I'm in this concussion state like you're just screwing with me God like where this is
Hmm.
and lo and behold um a couple years ago, that's what happened. The fifth one, blonde curly hair from, Russian
The
from
Ukraine.
and I did it my way because I was so timid and not a man yet in my true divinity. I was this
Hmm.
false, like ego kind of guy. And I lost it. And that's when the dark night of the soul hit and the spiritual side just started to vibrate and literally turn my world upside down. Like
Wow.
tarot
Ex-
card yeah.
Describe that to me.
Yeah, I never I never knew what, like, heartbreak was until that moment of, like,
Wow.
she walked out of my life because she had to go back home to the Ukraine when the war just before the war to help her dad, um, basically pass away from cancer, and
Hmm.
she couldn't deal with it, and I think she couldn't deal with me and then like just ran and bounced and lo and behold it set me ablaze where it needed to shift me and I truly thank her for it now in hindsight you're heartbroken right you're
Hmm.
shattered into 1,000 pieces but um it felt like every cell in my body was breaking apart and it was like trying to put me back together because of all the years of hockey and being a angry person, it almost
Hmm.
every cell was separated to begin with. So it was like that was the pinnacle point of like the dark night of the soul hit, and I had no idea
Hmm.
what was going on. Like tarot cards started making sense.
Hmm.
People on
And you were actually getting like physical
yeah,
changes as well as emotional, psychological. All this was like shifting in you.
yeah, yeah. Because all you've ever known is you get your heart broken, you're gonna go work out, become this jacked person,
Right. Get a
low,
better girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
just get it, like make money, become way better, and then be like,
Yeah.
for you, right? And
Uh,
so that started to happen, and I was in and out of the church, kind of like in that church sense too, and then everything started to flip where God set me down. He literally like he like seized my back on, like, I was doing squats, and he seized it, and I laid my bed for about 90 days,
mm,
and he made me deal with all my emotions, with
uh,
breakups and past pains and hurts,
mm,
concussions and anger and everything. So it was literally every cell in my body was in pain, and my bones, and like every injury that I never, like I just pushed through, uh,
mm.
every broken bone, everything. Like it was like, here's all the cells, they're gonna break apart and now be put back together. I was
Whoa.
sitting in the shower for 3 hours, like just letting the water just drain on me because I physically couldn't get out of the shower. Like,
Oh my God, dude.
yeah. And I couldn't even get outside my house. Like I would order Costco stuff to be sent to my door because I had no energy. Like it wiped you. And so I was watching TikToks, and these psychics were making sense, and they were just resonating with your heart. And that's, I think,
Hmm.
God was. And he was kind of saying, like, yeah, this is me too, dude. Like, wake up, like, so I basically was researching all these things of like, is this you, God? Because all I know is the devil and the darkness, and you're the sky god, and
Right.
saying to me, like, he's like, no,
The
man,
jealous, angry. Yeah.
dude, I'm everything. I'm everything. Like, I'm all of it,
Hmm.
I'm the darkness and the light and the aspects that you don't like of yourself because they need to be loved. And it was such a trying time, and I had a friend kind of come along with me. He wasn't really a friend, and he just kept calling me, and he was there, and I was like, what's going on? And I was like, what's going on, Mark? And then he just knew that he had to be in my life as this one woman was
S-
transferring out. And
Okay.
he said, you got to meet Daniel, you got to meet Daniel. And I was like, okay. So I met Daniel Somerville, and he basically saved me. Like, that man, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be alive today because
Wow.
the dark night of the soul hit. Um, and it was so painful that he went through it years before us. And so he kind of transmuted it all and helped us get through it, Mark and I. So all three of us were kind of just like still, he was just coming out of it, helping us as we're during it. So
As someone that literally was just experienced it.
yeah,
So,
he did it for 4 years where
oh my.
yeah, he helped us like expedite ours down to like a year, I would say, you know.
Wow.
So he, the the dark night of the soul into the spiritual enlightenment was a whole awakening. Like it just, your mind blew, quantum physics started to shift. Like I'm sure you've had, that kind of like, epiphany of going like, what's going on here? Like, like,
Oh
is
yeah.
real? Is this real? Like, um,
Yeah, it's funny now because I actually had like I can remember what it was like before like my shift happened,
yeah,
but I've never gone back there. Like I have bad days and I get
yeah,
frustrated, but I've
yeah.
never gone back into the whole, thinking mindset of, that reality again. And it's rough when you're coming out of it. I mean, it was tragic.
It's painful. Like
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like you hit all the points that need to be hit, and the darkness just needs to come out of you because the light is just being shone in
Hmm.
shadow parts that you do not want to deal with, right? You
Yeah. So basically all those years of suppression and anxiety and anger, they were just coming up. Like they were
yeah,
all of a sudden it's getting hit with that light and everything's exposed.
it's wild. Like it's just, and then you can't even, like, I lost so many friends because I just couldn't relate to them anymore.
Hmm.
And then you basically pushed everyone away, and I sat there for about a year, didn't talk to my parents, didn't talk to anybody, didn't show up to family events. Like I sat alone. Like, and I was like, God's healing me. I need to feel this, right? All I could do was talk to Daniel and Mark. Like those were
The
the
only people that could relate really of what you were going through, right?
yeah, because your conscious level just expedited to so many levels. And I was never really a Christian. I was always like
Hmm.
an odd follower, I would say. And the people that were in the church and my parents tried to get me in there, and I just I didn't really resonate with the fakeness to me
Yeah.
of it. And I was like, no, there's higher points with him. There's got to be something more. We're all missing it.
Hmm.
I felt like my dark night of the soul, like I jumped from like public school to like college.
That's a good analogy.
Whole
Yeah.
Christianity high school thing.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, this isn't for me. And I just felt like,
Yeah.
okay, like we're all one. Like it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know if you ever got that too, where you jumped like timelines in quantum leaping that way. Like
I don't know. I pretty early on, like my early teens, I was just like, because I was brought up Catholic,
yeah, yeah,
and it just never felt right. Like I was just like I saw so much hypocrisy, and so many things didn't make sense. It's just like you have to believe this or else, and I'm like,
yeah,
and that just it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, this is like doesn't not resonate. But then what happened was, I ended up like getting married. I had kids, so it's like all that stuff. I put it on the back burner
yeah,
because my life was focused on just raising my family and my kids and everything. And then it was later when
deep
things,
down,
yeah,
yeah,
that's when because then you start like thinking back again to
yeah,
like, wow, yeah, like something's missing. Like I always knew there was something there right in front of me and I couldn't, that's what it felt like, and I couldn't see it.
yeah. It's like we get our brains wiped when we come here and we're trying to
Yeah.
remember who we are, but as a child, we kind of know who we are.
Yeah.
Can't explain it to people.
Hmm.
And obviously like parental influence and programming of other institutions and all that, we forget who we actually are.
Hmm.
In some
Absolutely.
in the I would say I got hit like even at 33, which I'm 34 now, but 33 of like this Christ enlightenment of like, you die to your soul to become resurrected again. Like it's all
Hmm.
technology that way. And
Yeah, you have to die to be born again. And
yeah,
it's so funny too because and tell me this, like I didn't really like Christianity because like I said for the reasons I said before, but now like the things that you see that that I realized because I went to Catholic school, I went to church for 18 years. I mean, I knew the story. I heard I heard it week after week after week.
yeah,
And it wasn't until you go through things like we're talking about, and you're like, oh
yeah,
my God, that's what he meant there.
yeah,
Like I never, like you know what I mean? Like, oh, born again, like that's what he was talking about. Like
yeah,
you have to die to this physical
yeah,
reality and be renewed, like
yeah. I it's so true. Like, and you die to your ego. Like, the
Yeah.
ego's trying to keep you safe, and
Right.
that's all it's what's to do because it's like, "Don't do that," like, "You'll never know," like, but if you can die to that, because
Mhm.
we're all on this hero's journey, right? Like,
Mhm.
here to transmute a bunch of stuff. We sign up for a bunch of contracts to help us raise our vibration into love, and we we're trying to just walk through this hero's journey of like what can be our highest.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the polarity of this dense earth is the darkness. And so that's what we got to do is we got to die to our soul and go through the flame by the
And circle
soul right,
back.
into the new waters, the new like age of Aquarius into the pathway of the light, and that's sometimes it takes your heart being broken, sometimes it takes a job loss,
Mhm.
divorce, like somebody passing away. It takes something crucial, like absolutely almost like an idol that you've had in your life and just ripped apart. And
Yeah,
so
it's a good analogy.
make it's the Job experience, like
Yeah.
never, read that. It's like all these guys that go through the Bible, it's like they're renewed and
Mhm.
but they've had to lose everything.
Yeah, and I've noticed, like, I mean, in my life, when I look back, it's almost funny now, but it was like, first, like, you get like a little tap on the shoulder,
Yeah,
and then you start to get a little bit of heavier tap, and then you're still ignoring it, and finally it's like,
boom.
like, you know what I mean? Like, knocks you
Yeah,
on your ass. Like, you
yeah,
were in bed for 90
yeah,
days, for 3
yeah,
months, and you're like,
yeah,
sometimes that's what it takes,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's wild to look back on because I would not change it the way I did it because I already
Hmm.
signed up for it that way, like, you
Hmm.
already knew that you signed up in that specific season, that's what you're gonna do. And,
Yeah.
I lost my jobs, like, I couldn't do the jobs that I was doing anymore. I used all up my savings just to, like, stay in that apartment that summer, and then it was like God told me it was time to shift and move out. Like, it it was wild, and it took the darkness, like, as much as you don't want that, you need to sit alone with yourself in silence and
Hmm.
who you are and to remember who you are.
Yeah, and we tend to distract ourselves in order not to do that,
Oh,
because
yeah.
nobody wants to sit with themselves, and then that's usually when,
Yeah. Yeah.
God or the spirit or, whatever steps in and goes, "Okay, you want to do it this way? Let's
Yeah.
go."
Yeah. Like, yeah. One of the wildest times was knowing, and I still have it on my phone, and when I went to Edmonton to meet Daniel Somerville, we went to Edmonton Mall, and because Mark went there first, and they saw in the Edmonton Mall that my name was on a wall,
Oh,
and
really?
what happened was in when I was 13, I guess this is how crazy it is, and this is why I was so mad at God for so many years. Um, was There was this brick tournament in Edmonton, and I guess it's like a invite, and so um, they called my coaches, and the coach said, "Don't take Mike, take my kid." And so I guess this this man now is in the NHL because of it. Um,
Hmm.
and he was always going to be good enough to be in the NHL. It just helped him get there quicker,
Faster. Yeah.
faster, and everything. Yeah. And so my name was on this um, this wall, and I had to completely heal it. And I didn't find this out until after my career, when another friend of mine who was a D man that I played in juniors, he said, "Hey, aren't you on this list?" I'm like, "I never went to this tournament." He's like, "No, your name's on the list." And
Mm.
so it was really angry finding this out after my career when all the blocks were happening in hockey, when it was an easy path, and I was so angry at God going, "Why did you not save me? Why didn't you intervene?" Like,
Right.
and so I was like, "If you want me to do this job that you've told me to do, and you've wanted me to be on this platform, aren't you gonna like save me and do all this?" And
Hmm.
that was something I had to accept after in the dark night of the soul is healing this uh, thing. And this is how crazy it was within the dark night of the soul. Just coming out of COVID, he gave me free Leaf tickets, like the Toronto Maple Leaf tickets, like NHL tickets. I was like, okay, like I guess I'm going. And I invited a friend. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, I had to go, and I didn't know who was playing. And I had to go and sit there in front of the guy
Oh God.
that was playing in the NHL that I played with. And
uh,
his dad said, "Take my kid instead of Mike." And God told me, he said, "You have to heal this. You have to heal this now, or you'll never, this
yeah.
will always be a wound."
And he literally put it right in front of you,
Right.
like, dude,
Yeah.
here, if I can't be any more clear, he's
Yeah.
right in front of you now.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, he's making 8.8 million a year. So, 64 million for 8 years or whatever. He's like, and he's on the front stage of just this arena with a team. He's like, but I'm sending you to just you in front of this whole arena soon.
Hmm.
So you have to heal this.
Wow.
And as humbling as it is, because I've struggled with finances all my life,
Hmm.
to hear that from him during that, n- knowing that I've screamed at this guy going, "Why won't you help me with this?" It's been there's battles, right? There's still
Oh
always
yeah.
battles with the universe or source, God, that you were just like, yeah. Like I don't know if you've ever had that experience, like something similar, but
I tell you what, I mean, through a lot of my life, I did exactly that. I would just get so mad
yeah.
because it just seemed like, all of these people were just having all this success. And it was like half of it was just like accidental success, just happened to be in the right place and happened to me, and I was like you, I would just be like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, shouting at the sky, like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do? What sins am I paying for
Yeah.
that this shit is still going on? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I can totally relate to that for sure. And
And it's
it's
weird. Like, because you think, is this a contract I signed up for to be stolen or taken away? Is this a contract that just shows me something?
mhm.
Is it the sins of my ancestors that they did something somewhere and it's
And
karma
you're just paying, yeah.
paying for it? Like, what's going on with this? Like, why isn't it like just unfolding naturally? Like, was it actually supposed to be mine that I signed up for in my scroll, and it was
Hmm.
completely taken by a choice here? Like what's what's up, God? Like
Yeah. So
you
let me ask you this. So what conclusion did you arise to when you were asking all these questions?
yeah.
What answer did you finally hear?
Um, I haven't heard an answer from it actually still.
Hmm.
There's things I'm still dealing with. A couple days ago, I was actually dealing with the wound of it all. And I think it's just something that was intense that I held on to in the past. And
Hmm.
the past is the past. You can't change it. We can only live in the now moment. And
Absolutely.
I think it's something that's still stuck in my vagus nerve, in my organs, or in my nervous system somehow, that is still holding me back from the true identity that I need to be, and like the true thing that I need to step into, and
Mhm.
with the abundance and all that. But I can't get there if I don't heal this. So
Yeah.
he
And I
won't.
have to say, like, it's, at 33, that's a lot of knowledge. And it's
Mhm.
good that you know that and see that because, it took me a lot longer than 33
Yeah,
to figure that shit out. But, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we'll never move forward until you like figure out a way to
yeah,
confront your past and heal your wounds and everything. You can't move forward. And I didn't know that.
yeah. He won't. It's like the parable of the talents. He won't give you more if you're not dealing with the issues that you left in your body behind, that stored trapped energy.
Hmm.
Like he, and I always call him he, but like source love, it never wants you to step into the next step if you can't handle it.
Yeah.
Like, if he's gonna give you such abundance and gifts, but your ego and your trauma is still there from wounds, he'll never give you that until you step into your heart and remove that to go to the next level of, like, so that's what I got from it. But it, there's many perspectives in life too about that too, right? I'm not
Oh,
just,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not, my my answer is not always the right answer either too.
I think, I mean, but I think you're there. I mean, I think as far as understanding that the problem sometimes can be it's not on the timetable that we want it to be,
Right.
but
Yeah.
and it may, may take longer, for like, for me, like, you know, I- for me, it was the worst thing that happened to me was I went through this really ugly, horrible divorce
Yeah.
and I could not let it go.
Yeah.
And I mean, it took, I mean, when I look back, I can't believe I wasted like 10, 11 years of my life, or, just stewing in all those emotions and that anger, but I just didn't know any better. But looking back on that now, I can understand why it took me so long. And why that's what led to my whole, like, searching for myself and my awakening and all that other things, which would not have happened if I didn't go through all that. So
Sometimes it serves a purpose,
yeah, yeah, I think it almost always serves a purpose.
Yeah. That
We
anger,
just can't see it.
we just can't see it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this 3D or 2D planet is so dense sometimes
Mm,
you can't see the actual what's happening around us in the other realms or dimensions. Like, it doesn't,
hmm.
so we can only see like what's in front of our, like, earthly eyes.
Yeah. And
Sense.
it's very easy to fall back into those ego patterns because, we that's how we dealt with everything. It's how we learned to behave and how to respond. And it was all ego driven. And it's pretty easy to fall back into that sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why we're human.
Mm,
And someone said it to me really elegantly, was in other planets and other realms or heaven, we don't get to experience that. We don't get to experience the full image of God, which is all these emotions and these bitter anger or low points,
mhm.
sadness or fear or anxiety. We don't get to experience that in the ethereal realms of heaven. Like,
Right.
only on earth, because it's the polarity. We get the full image of him, of learning and consciously knowledge of, this is what it feels like to be Mike at the age of whatever, and feeling how low he is at that point.
Right.
It it's that's basically what I was taught. Like you don't in heaven you don't get to experience because it's pure bliss and it's pure love.
Right.
So
Yeah, we're down in the action adventure
yeah, you're
plane.
literally like the video game of
Yeah.
like "Yeah, we're doing it all like yeah the
Right. And
action.
we don't have any cheat codes.
No, yeah, yeah, it's literally like figure it out on your own. Like
Yeah. Good luck, buddy. All
yeah.
right. But like you said, though, I do happen to believe that, and it just it feels like a truth to me is that we did sign up for this. Like we knew
Yeah,
because I mean, I don't know. I've never experienced it, but I've heard that like there is no time on the other side. This
yeah,
time is it's just an all an illusion. So there's not really like you're not really down here. It feels like fucking forever when we're down here. But yeah, it's like nothing over there. And so it's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, I'll sign up for this. And oh, can we make it a little harder? I mean, come
yeah,
on. And
yeah,
then we're down here going, fuck.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause we're feeling it all, and I think that's
Yeah.
the crazy thing is like when we're up there, you're like, yeah, no, it looks pretty simple, like
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through some emotions and hiccups, and it's
Yeah.
cool, yeah. You get down here and you really feel the experience. You're like,
Oh yeah.
oh, this is the weight of it, like
Yeah.
yeah, like it's it's been a wild ride, and I mean, I wish I could say I was on the other side of it. I'm still doing the growing pains of healing, but I
Sure.
think we all are, and it takes probably till our last breath until we heal like all
I
of it.
think you're right.
Like
I don't think it ever stops.
no, it doesn't ever stop here, and
Yeah.
we keep growing in knowledge and in life, and it's like this roller coaster of emotions.
It's a ride for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I
It's
remember shutting my emotions off like for years, and that's how the Dark Knight of Soul caught
mm,
everything.
no
So
wonder. Yeah. Yeah, because all it does is build up till
oh,
like you
yeah,
basically, like you said, like you basically broke down, like
yeah,
literally from top to bottom broke
yeah.
down.
Like I've never cried so much in my life, and that year, like
Wow.
crying like a little baby all the time. Like
Yeah.
it was just like wounds after wounds of coming up, and you just suppressed like broken bones that you're telling you're someone's telling you to walk it off or skate it off,
Right.
just like
Yeah.
things
Skated
that
off. I've heard that
like,
before.
that are actually emotional trauma that is sick,
Right.
like so I mean,
Well, let me ask you this. So how now you're an artist
yeah.
and you paint on canvas, but you also do clothing, hats.
Mhm.
Where did you have you always been an artist? Like did you start this really young? And then how did this whole sort of perception and shift change in reality? How did that affect your art, or was it you are always sort of expressing yourself even before your like awakening experiences?
Yeah, I could draw before I could talk, so
Wow.
yeah. So I would draw whatever I wanted, and I would show my parents like, "Hey, like, I would want a cup of milk or whatever it was," right? And so
Yeah.
always been a creative mind, and visually I could see everything, which I think helped me being an athlete too, because I could visually see plays before they could happen and things like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, but essentially I always had the gift, and I would always make up like Like, I could never afford, like, action figures all the time, so I would just draw my own and make my own, like, paper cutout, like, action figures,
Oh,
a
wow.
and so then it developed into, like, "No, this kid's got the gift," and so I did it in high school as I was playing hockey, um, and then my art teacher told my parents, like, he's got it, like, So as much as art was there, hockey was there
Mhm,
also. So one was more precedent than the other, but I
mhm.
in college and got my BFA in art, and so it kind of transferred when I just retired and I wanted to get into this professionally, but it I ended up selling um like just after my concussions, and I had this little whisper said, go paint again and
Hmm.
the joy of it, and it started to unfold, and then it kind of tanked because I was doing it for the money, and I'm always
Um,
for the money, and it was like, no, you're actually supposed to be in joy in doing this. So it developed into this more universal like experience of like you get to see what the spirit is doing in the realms, like
can you sense that or see that?
yeah, like I could always sense it and feel it, like it's like if God is pure light and he's
Mhm.
fractalizing himself into color, like one of the like the dark Pink Floyd's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
mid kind of shift, and then it fractalizes again into like matter, and then density to our carbon fiber body here. But in the like in the veil of spirit, it's always flowing in color, and this like wave of like it's always moving at this like the 369 method of like basically Da Vinci's uh golden ratio, right?
Yes.
His golden mean, like it just that's the plane that that spirit sits in, and it can
So do you see it like in your mind's eye, kind of like you're getting like a sense for it,
yeah,
or
yeah, I see it in my mind's eye of like if God is all knowing and all everywhere, like
uh-huh.
that is him. That's his spirit that just flows so effortlessly in color every time through the veil that we can't see here. But
Right.
like when we can kind of tap into meditation and we kind of feel it, like that's
Mhm.
we should be seeing as an experience. So I'm just trying to like make a snapshot almost of what it's looking at a 3D kind of plane, or 4D if it would move and flow. So it's almost like string theory, but go beyond string theory of like instead of it's just string, like
Uh-huh.
actually just moving everywhere. And that's how like angels can come in at the speed of lightning or like the speed of light. It's because it's through light. It's just it's right there, gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
It's
for like in light. Like
Yeah, it's interesting because I was actually we were talking a little bit before
yeah,
about Lisa, who was a
mhm,
guest,
yeah,
and that's the vision that I kept sort of seeing too. It's like it's light, and we see it as light, and God is light, but then when it hits that prism and it splits out to all these colors,
yeah,
but all the colors together are light. Like, and it's almost like we are the colors, like individuals, like, but we're still part of that, just one light. But I mean, it's interesting. So when you're painting something, uh, I don't know, like, how are you sort of feeling that energy? Are you seeing like actual physical colors in front of you?
yeah. When I'm painting it, I can kind of it's weird. Like you can almost put them together how flowing it is. So
Hmm.
when you're kind of seeing like how opposite the colors are, but yet they're cohesive together, they kind it just it
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
molds within, and I think that is the realm that God sits in is everything, right? Because he's
Yeah.
all colors, and
Right.
it's back to him, which is pure light, like that's him. Like so
Right.
when he sits in realms of color, right? Like that's that's the heavens of all these things. So it's like it's infinite, that would more than we can imagine.
Did you ever find yourself when you're painting or designing something uh sort of in that zone where it's almost like you're like, how did I do that? Like I don't
Yeah,
even like it was almost like your hand was being guided.
absolutely. Like
Do you get that?
all the time when you set an intention and then
Uh-huh.
you get in the zone, everything around you just like the time stops and nothing matters anymore. And
Mm.
sitting there and then 5, 6 hours later you kind of wake up from this like you're like, whoa, what happened? And
Yeah,
it's
like, whoa, I haven't eaten in 6 hours.
yeah, yeah. And everything's just making sense because you're dialed in, right? Like
Yeah,
you come out with all these crazy cool colors or these ethereal planes. Like I don't know if I can show you like
sure. I've
basically,
seen a lot of your stuff. It's
yeah,
pretty awesome.
like basically that one uh
Oh, wow.
is like sitting in front of like him, if that makes sense.
It's sitting in front of what?
Like like it's sitting in front of like the heavenly realms of like
Okay. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah,
all the
that
he is all the particles and all the light. Like that's just him. So
wow.
you sit in front of him kind of going like this is how big you are. Like
Yeah,
you're just this small, minute, like, you know.
fractal of
Yeah.
source.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, man, I'm all of it. Like
Yeah. Yeah, you're the ocean in the drop,
yeah.
which is just and it's so true, but we forget it's so easy to forget. That's the thing. Like I just when you get caught up in, the day-to-day BS, which we were even talking about, and like these ups and downs of life,
Yeah.
sometimes it's very easy to forget that. But I,
It,
like I said, I think when you do keep that in mind, it just really helps. Like now that I've had more years behind me than I have in front of me, I can see how, like you said earlier, it's I wouldn't change anything,
yeah.
and I wouldn't either. Like, because every negative experience I had shaped who I am now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the full image of him. Like we have to learn who we are through those experiences.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what makes us that person in the end. Like
Yeah.
that shapes us, right? And because if we didn't have that, we'd be this like happy-go-lucky, like we
Right.
know who we are, right? And so,
Yeah.
and when people say that, I've lived lifetimes, it's like, yeah, you actually have, because
Hmm.
the experiences that you've cultivated over time to what makes you you now, like it's that's it's all trying to get back to him. Like that's what we're trying to do. It's all just like trying to go back to him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, do you as far as like your inspirations, do they just kind of come to you then, or is there just certain things in life that trigger different inspirations as far as like what? Okay, perfect example. What inspired you to do that painting that you showed me? Like, where did it come from? Just sort of hit you out of nowhere?
Yeah, it was actually a dream.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I I felt like I was sitting in front of him, and he was actually kind of explaining my life of like, this is why your mom is your mom. This is why your dad's your dad. Like your grandma's your grandma, your sister's your sister. Like you signed up for these people, and yet they signed up for you to make you who you are.
Hmm.
They're pulling you back to launch you or whatever it is. He was trying to explain it to me as I'm sitting in front of him, like it.
Wow.
And so, because I never really understood, like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Like, why? Because hockey's gone now. I don't know what to do with my life. Art's not doing what it's supposed to do.
Hmm.
It's like, well, I kind of told you at the age of 5 when they tell you to lead nations, well, you got to speak, and you got to tell them this is how to get back to me.
Interesting. Okay,
So
so you did get you did get an answer.
yeah, yeah. And it was like, oh, okay. So I'm part of this bigger plan, and I'm just like this minute guy to tell everyone, hey, this is how you get back to them. Like,
Hmm.
and because some people are just like lost. Like
Oh yeah.
they're just they don't they still feel the wounds of like the hatred in them because their ego won't let them release into pure love, right? And so it's like in order for me to be like the conduit, I need to show them and to tell them like this is the experience. Like I sat in front of him and kind of going, you need to. He'll explain it to you if you ask in realms or whatever dreams.
Hmm.
So
Do you ever hear the voice of God, or like, I don't know. I mean, for me, like, it doesn't happen a lot, but there are times where it's just like it's super clear, it's super
yeah,
authoritative.
yeah,
Like, I can tell it's not me going, I don't know. Like, all of a sudden there's like this voice that'll be like da 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 da, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
that do you get that?
Yeah, no, it happened kind of like I said, like the five girlfriend thing, and
Oh
then
yeah.
and it was like, yeah, right, that's not you, and it actually happened. Like it's like those are
Yeah.
the things that you're just like, I didn't listen to you back then. Goodness, like, but um, no, there's times where you can really sit with him and in silence, and then you listen, and he'll speak or he won't, but like
Right.
it's basically like he'll tell you what to do almost. Like paint this or don't go down this road or there's a cop
Mhm.
ahead, like slow down. Just like
Yeah.
there's things that he'll protect you from that way.
Yeah. If
Even
you listen.
yeah, if you listen or tell you
Hmm.
to do, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, go and paint. Don't do hockey anymore. Like or do go to this town. You're gonna meet this person. You've got a word for them. Like people, you
Oh,
know,
you've actually heard things that specific.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I I remember with my buddy Mark, we were downtown Toronto and this guy, I think he was a FedEx guy, and he was walking and because we were smoking cigars, just having a fun day.
Hmm.
Uh, this guy was like, I was like, oh man, I got a word for this dude. I didn't really say it to Mark, and then I didn't really say anything, and then he
Hmm.
a second time when we were walking the opposite way, he
Oh,
around. I was like, okay, I got a word for you, dude. He's like, man, I love cigars. I was like, that's why. He's like, you're gonna do something with your nose and smells and own cigar. He's like, then I was like, oh, like 2, 3 years, like you're done with FedEx or whatever, Pure Later.
yeah.
You need to go and do this, pursue your passions. He's like, yeah, I really do. I'm like, that's the true essence to get back to your true self in God, right? You're not supposed
Yeah.
to be doing the things that are mundane. You're supposed to be doing what brings you pure joy.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
absolutely. And what's amazing about humanity is everybody's pure joy is something different. Like, there's people that love math. I
yeah,
see math, I run, I shudder.
dude, I'm with you on
Yeah,
that.
but there are people like they love it though. You know what I mean? That's what's so awesome about, this
Yeah,
experience in this society is like, you can do what you love because people have so many different loves,
yeah.
so many different interests, like, as
My
opposed to
yeah,
forcing yourself into something that you hate.
that's it. Like it could be baking, it could be
Yeah,
making crochet, it could be making
right.
sweat.
Writing computer programs, who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, yeah. You're a comedian, like
Right.
love to do what they love to do, and I think that's why you kind of have to find who you are, and then your authenticity shows in that aspect or that purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For
Like
sure.
I'm not a wood guy because I'm not at math. Like my dad's amazing at making stairs because he's all engineer and math and it's wood and he loves it. I'm like, this is not me. Like I'm, I'm like, I'm more feminine. I got the material thing. Like,
Yeah. So you're not building stairs in your spare time. Shucks. Oh man.
yeah. It's yeah, it's funny because like, but and that's what some people are having troubles with is they're working a job they don't like because they're not stepping into who they are and what they actually love to do.
Hmm.
And I think if they actually knew what they loved doing, they would make more money at it because the higher vibration of joy and love and happiness in their enlightenment, you know,
Yes.
authority, they would make money at it. Like
Hmm.
you fearful, and that's what the programmings and governmental programmings have shown us. Stay in fear and pay your bills and do the job that
Hmm.
you like want to make money.
Condition, basically you're conditioned into it. Yeah.
And I think that's why he was showing me that. It was like, hey, you got to go tell these people, like, go back to love, go back to you, go back to joy, and you'll receive the money through me, not the government, so you
Hmm.
back to who you are. So
Well, I love that, man. You can spread the word with me anytime you
yeah,
want
yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, it was a weird thing. I woke up, I'm like, this is so much bigger than us. Like, like I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I was like, it's bigger than me, it's bigger than all like you and you. And I'm like, this is so much like I couldn't handle how like the expansion of like knowledge he gave you in that dream to like to show people just step back into love, like and step back into you, right? And
Right.
he made you in love. So it's
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why, for me, if you break it down to the core
yeah,
of why I did not feel comfortable in the church was
yeah,
because I think I kind of knew, like, God is love and deep down we are all love. And that's what it's all about. Love each other, love where we are, love God. Like, and I didn't get that, and it just didn't. I think that's why, when I look back, that's probably the main thing. I didn't know it at the time, but I think that's the main thing. I'm like, this just does not
yeah,
feel right. Like, why am I being scared into worship? It doesn't make sense to me. It just none of it made sense. And I just didn't feel comfortable. And but I think that's the truth, and that's why. It's because God is just,
yeah,
is love. I mean, how good does it feel
yeah,
to help someone and love someone? I mean, we get
yeah,
so much more back than we even give half the time.
absolutely. Like he's not in a building all the time on a Sunday at 9 a.m. And
Right.
he's in all things. Like he
Hmm.
your hands of healing someone else. He's in like the vibrational sound bowls that
Mm.
frequencies to you. Like he's in all things. Like
Yeah.
people need to be reminded that it, when we give our energy to somebody else to help them heal or a word
Hmm.
that they need as a key, like it's sending them back into love. Like it's that's the true God essence. But we don't we program it so tightly of like it's got to fit in at this
Yeah.
can't we got to shove it through your face and it's like no let it just flow like that's
Yes.
that's him, man. Like if his garden was the whole planet, nothing's gridded, nothing's fenced in, it's all
Hmm.
free. Like
Yes.
there's no like in the rainforest it's not every tree is lined in rows,
Right.
all
Like
chaos.
rows of corn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just lined up.
And that's the healing world of like this journey. Like, it's you like as much as we get together at those things, like someone could get just loved on because they need to get loved on so much, and they have so many people have just healing them just on their one shoulder that's hurting, or
Yeah.
then they go into a realm of like giddiness, or the spirit comes in, and you're just in crying stuff out because you need it to let go, and they've got a word for you or whatever, right? Like
Yeah, it's an amazing experience for sure. Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
healing.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, I was going to say, go ahead. Finish up.
No, I was just gonna say that's the healing process of him, right? Is
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, as
Sure.
we start to wind down
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
okay, so this is a big question, but you sort of answered it, but I'll ask it again. So what is God to you?
I think he's all things. He's all things in love and light. As I was kind of saying, like he brings in everything that you need all at once every time, and it's not conformative. It's not. He's so much bigger than what I could ever explain, because he's basically all consciousness and all knowledge and everything. He's every planet,
L- Right,
every,
literally everything.
literally everything. Everything we can touch, we can taste, we can hear. It's all him.
Yeah.
Like beyond the senses. If that is, if you can wrap your head around that.
Oh yeah, I mean I mean for me it's like I always think like people are so like based in just the physical reality. And meanwhile, we have all these machines that can pick up all these things that are invisible that we can't even see. Microwaves, radio waves, like all these things that we have, and they're right there in front of us. It's just because our senses can't pick them up. It doesn't mean it's not there,
Yeah,
you
that's the
know?
same with him. If the
Yeah,
spirit lives within you, like Christ lives within you, that's what he's saying.
right.
You
Yeah,
are born again in Christ, in God, in the Spirit, and Spirit's in you. You're in God. You're a fractalization of Him. You are Him. He is you. You are together now, and it's
together,
all
right.
this encompassing like flow of energy. Like it's all it is, and all He's trying to do is gain knowledge on a planet, what it's like to be everybody, what it's like to be Jeff,
Yeah.
doing this right now. Like, and he's got a conversation with Mike over a computer. Like, he's learning. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he's trying to do. And once
Yeah.
he heals the planet, he's going to be like, okay, like, we've learned everything here, like, but he never stops learning or growing. So it's like, there's always going to be a new thing, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I mean, you have infinity, so
yeah.
yeah, literally there is no end to it. It's amazing.
Oh,
It's mind blowing.
yeah. And it's like, if people can comprehend that, like, that's him.
Hmm.
So,
Okay, so and as we wrap up here, so do you have any last messages? I know you shared a lot about your experiences in your life, but
yeah.
anything like, I know, you were just saying this is your mission.
Yeah.
So last messages.
Yeah, if I could say to the people that are hearing this, you are not your past. Um, that doesn't define you. And if you can learn to forgive the people that hurt you the most, it is the most freeing piece into love you can ever experience.
That's awesome. And that's so true.
Yeah. It's probably the most frustrating thing to let it go, because our human minds and our bodies want to hang on to it because
Hmm.
our ego likes to hold on to these burdens. And I think that's why it says in the Bible, like in Christ just says, like, step into your green pasture, your heart, and learn to let it go and forgive.
Hmm.
And I think if you can really understand forgiveness into love, you'll go into the Christ-like mind of like you're in pure bliss of just nothing affects you anymore because you're so in love. You're so connected to God that it's like you vibrate on like the highest
A
dimension
whole new plane. Yeah.
enlightenment, and it's like, okay, nothing phases me anymore. You can hurt me, you could stab me, and I'd still love you, like
Yeah.
that that's yeah. So yeah, forgiveness is huge and it takes time. It's not a one pill and it's done. Like it,
Yeah. That's our society. Instant cures for everything, right?
yeah. Here, take this pill and it might cure you, and it might not. It might give you
Yeah. It might give you worse problems, but
yeah.
sure.
No, the spiritual healing journey is a whole different ride.
Yeah.
It's
Amen to
actually
that.
dealing with the root problems. It's not just buffering it. So
Yeah. That's important. Yeah. It's down to the root.
yeah, it's
Okay. Mike, do you have like a website for your artwork or a way that people can
yeah,
reach you?
yeah.
I'll
So
put it in the description, but I also give you a chance to
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
mhm.
it's just Michael Wills Art. So Wills. People always put Willis. So
Yeah.
such a common
Killing
mis-
me, Willis.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So michaelwillsart.com, or my Instagram or Facebook is at Michael Wills Art. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
All right, Mike, I appreciate your time so much. I know
yeah,
we kind of had a little bit of trouble connecting, but I'm so
really,
glad that we finally pulled it off and got it together. It's good seeing you.
and yeah, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate this. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Mike, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe and like, and I'll see you next time.